Let's talk about Bitcoin, which as of this moment has broken out of our falling wedge pattern, which we know is a bullish pattern. Of course, we break out to the upside usually. And what is happening right now? Well, let's discuss it. Bitcoin broke out and has been trading kind of sideways, but moving towards the upside. Now, I want to be drawing a certain trend line, which Bitcoin has basically broken above of. We can draw this trend line somewhat in this way. It's just for illustrative purposes. Basically, we broke above this trend line and the trend towards the upside is continuing. I can highlight this if I just show you guys the lower high structure which we have. We're creating higher low structure with higher lows, and basically that just confirms that we're in an uptrend. So the moment we broke out of this trend line here to the upside, we basically retested this orange line. And well, what is that? It is the actually previous support on the previous bear flag that we had formed, and we're now retesting that as new resistance. And on the way down, I did make a video yesterday, but basically we found resistance here, and now we're coming back to retest this previous level of support and resistance. Basically, this is the level I'm looking out for right now if I go on the daily candles. So on that big move to the downside, let's have a look at the last couple of days on this move. We can see here basically the last big day, the price at which we opened the candle off, and then 2 days before the price, so we close the candle. This area which I highlighted in gray is a very nice area for where we actually went to found resistance, and also found resistance right here, and can find new support on until eventually we will break out from here and go continue the move to the upside. So if I just draw basically the move that I'm anticipating is a retest here of this area into like the 63.8 to $64,000 region, and then we eventually start breaking higher into this area which I am highlighting here, and then I do think we will go further to the downside. Now I want to be showing you guys something interesting. So now let me discuss quickly the lines that we have. Well, first of all, the level that we actually found resistance of from right here is also here, pretty much coinciding with this candle close and this candle open. So a strong level of resistance. Then I highlighted, of course, the range high as well as the November 2021 all-time high, which is this long line which we have right here, all the way to the November 2021 all-time high in November as well, $69,000, right? And that's definitely where I think we could be going to. Now let me show you another chart which highlights a few interesting things, because what we essentially have right here is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. And you can see this right here. We have the first shoulder that we formed, the big head all the way to the downside, all the way like $57.6 thousand, and then the other shoulder. And if we draw the trend line across like this, so that we have two touch points, we extrapolate the distance between the neckline and the head, and we can see basically the target of this inverse head and shoulders pattern will bring us all the way to like $71,800, depending on, of course, which chart you're looking at, somewhere above $71,000. Now let me put the Fibonacci extension lines on here, and I've drawn them from the very top of this previous run, of course, all the way here at like $83,000, all the way to the bottom. We have it here at 57.8. And these Fibonacci extension lines are usually targets. So we can see, for example, we did retrace to the 0.382 level, which was of course the $67.3 thousand range high. And what I think basically could be happening right here, after we find some support here and then continue to go higher, we go somewhere in this region. So the region I'm looking at lies somewhere between the 0.5 level, so just above $70,000. Let me draw it out, all the way to like the golden pocket, which is of course here sitting at about 73.2 to maximum 74. I'm not saying necessarily go there, but we could be going into this area, which coincides nicely for our inverse head and shoulders pattern, and of course also with this previous trading activity which has been going on there. Now essentially, I can't predict the exact price that we'll reach to the upside, but there are strong indications that we will go higher from here. And that's where I want to be entering my short position from. I might enter it actually a bit lower. So this line that we have right here is of course the November 2021 all-time high. So in my opinion, if I just draw this line again, I think we could find the top here somewhere in this region between like $69,000 and worst case $74,000 before we have a larger correction to the downside and Bitcoin continues the move into October, finding a bottom somewhere there. And on top of this, if we look at the Bitcoin short-term holder realized price, it pretty much shows us where the local highs are, and has pretty much always been a local high in this bear market. Now, of course, the short-term holder realized price is for anyone who holds Bitcoin for less than 155 days. And you can see in this bear market, it has acted as some form of natural resistance in this bear market. And this is, of course, that as soon as the price gets back to break even, to this average price where people bought from, people sell and exit their positions. So the short-term holder realized price, we can see right here, is at approximately $68,000. You can see it on the chart, and every single time we went either slightly below or slightly above. So it is definitely a resistance zone that we're going into. With the current Bitcoin price at like $64,700, it gives us a few, maybe $4,000 more price towards move to the upside. Yes, we can go slightly higher, but let's say $68,000 is the short-term holder realized price. Going back to our chart, this would also bring us into the entry level of our short position, somewhere here closer to like 69, all the way to potentially 74. But essentially, the idea is that we continue the move to the upside before we eventually go further down. And of course, if I look at the Bitcoin monthly returns, we can see that July is very bullish, very green, on average 7.75% monthly returns. But then keep this in mind, August and September historically are very negative months. And we can see this right here, especially in bear markets. 2022 bear market, we can see July was very positive, followed by 2 red negative months. Then 2018, the bear market before that, July 21% up, August and September both down 9% and then 6%. And then even 2014, the bear market before that, actually July was positive, it was negative, keep that in mind. But August and September, very, very much in the red, of course. And that's what I'm anticipating for this bear market to be happening one more time. And if we look here at the 200 weekly moving average line, of course, we know that we dipped slightly below it here in this recent move to the downside. But essentially the same thing happened in the last bear market as well, very much towards the end of the bear market, whereby we went slightly above the 200 weekly before we then eventually continued moving lower. And the same thing is happening right now. So there are a lot of patterns which are in fact repeating. We went slightly below, just above, which is happening right now. And if what I'm saying plays out, whereby we go to maybe 70, 72, 73, and then continue to move to the downside, that exact same thing has happened in the last bear market. Now keep in mind, bear markets we usually see a large capitulation event towards the end of the bear market, just like we had in the last bear market. And this could still be happening. And therefore, the prices towards the downside, I cannot give yet, as we have to wait until we get closer to October. But I would not be surprised for sure if we see a large capitulation event where we see a big price drop towards the end of the bear market, and then we go up from there. And finally, I just want to highlight, so of course we had the CPI data come out at 3.5% the other day. We actually had the PPI data, the producer price index, come out at 5.5%. This is below the expectation of 6.2%. The PPI, of course, tells us kind of the production prices and is a leading indicator for inflation. So lower production price indexes are good news generally for the market as well. And finally, if I look at Bitcoin here on the weekly, we can see basically last bear market, we found a bottom somewhere basically at the 350 weekly moving average line. The bear market before that, we went to the 200 and then the 300 weekly moving average line. And what I think is a very good entry is somewhere here in this range. And I do think we could potentially go to the 350 weekly moving average line. If we do go there, that is an amazing opportunity to start buying, or at least dollar cost averaging on your Bitcoin positions. And with that being said, let's see what will play out for Bitcoin here over the next couple of days. I do think that within like the next week or so, we could be going back all the way to at least $69,000, closing July in the green as we have always done, and then having that last final push to the downside. And that's what I want to be capitalizing on. With that being said, see you tomorrow and bye.